Joining me right now is Republican Indiana Congressman and House Armed Services Committee member Jim Banks. Congressman, it's good to see you. He didn't answer the question. Do you think this administration wants and thinks Ukraine can win this?
Well, it's painfully clear from both the Senate Armed Services Committee and the House Armed Services Committee, where General Milley and Secretary Austin testified before this week, Maria, it's that this administration has no plan. Their wait-and-see approach, reacting each step of the way, is exactly the opposite of the deterrence approach that the Trump administration took. I still submit to you, all of this was completely avoidable if we would have kept the same playbook that President Trump used to deter Russia. Instead, the Biden administration invited them, and that's why we find ourselves in this enduring, faced with this enduring war and conflict in Ukraine, that even though General Milley told the House Armed Services Committee this could last for years, it doesn't have to last for years. We need to continue to supply Ukraine with the weapons and the ammunition that it takes to fight back, and we'll all be better off if we do.
Well, why aren't we then? I don't understand. I mean, Zelensky is begging for air cover to get those MiG jets. And, you know, the first thing that the administration did when this war started was tell him, we'll send a plane to pick you up. And he said, I don't want to ride. I need weapons. I mean, of course, had he gone and taken that ride, Zelensky would have been fine, but Ukraine would have been Russia.
That's exactly right. Remember, a few weeks ago, Congress passed a humanitarian aid package and a military aid package to Ukraine. Most Republicans supported the military aid package. We voted against the excessive overall omnibus package that included the humanitarian aid. But the big point of that, Maria, is that it's been Congress pushing to send more weapons and lethal aid to Ukraine, not the Biden administration. But the big problem with all of that is that we still don't have a degree of confidence that this administration is actually seeing that aid is actually making it to the Ukrainian soldiers on the ground to be able to use it. So that's a recurring fear that many of us have, that many of us in Congress on both sides of the aisle are pushing the administration for answers to make sure that the Ukrainians are getting the support that they need.
Well, I'm just wondering about these sanctions. How impactful are them? I understand that the Russian economy has come to a grinding halt, but, you know, impacting Putin's daughters, you know, some of the oligarchs. What is that doing as opposed to actual serious weaponry and the MiG jets that the Ukrainians truly need?
The sanctions, Maria, are what we should have done before Russia invaded Ukraine. In fact, that's what President Zelensky begged America and the rest of the world to take those kind of actions before to deter. Since we didn't do that, it's too little too late in that regard. So It's weapons and ammunition, the lethal aid. Thank God, by the way, that Donald Trump reversed the Obama era blankets and humanitarian aid and the refusal to send lethal aid. And it was Donald Trump who sent the Javelin missiles to Ukraine and trained them on how to use it. If that wouldn't have happened under Donald Trump, Ukraine would not have had the fighting chance that they have today, be able to stay on their feet and fight back for 6 weeks now. And really, they've exposed a number of vulnerabilities of Russia's military that just goes to show that the more lethal aid we provide them now, the weaker Russia will be in the long term. And that's good for America and the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's a great point to make. Congressman, before you go, can you explain the president's $5.8 trillion massive budget proposal? In that proposal, the only two areas that are not seeing an increase in spending and that do not keep up with inflation are Homeland Security and defense spending. I'm trying to understand this. There's an almost 20% increase in spending that he's proposing at the IRS. But when it comes to defense spending, it's up 4%. That would be a decline, given that inflation is running at 8%.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt about it. This is a significant cut to our military. This administration, for the second year in a row, has submitted a budget to Congress that cuts military and spends excessively everywhere else. It just goes to show the disdain that these Democrats have for our men and women in uniform, for our military. And at a time when the world is turned upside down because of the weakness of this president, we need our military to be what's projecting American strength to deter our enemies. And yet this administration has given us a budget that cuts military spending in a significant way because it doesn't adjust for inflation in the long term. And it's going to have disastrous impacts. Congress has to fight back and make sure that we're plussing up our military, modernizing our military, supporting our troops, because right now that's the only projection of strength that America has abroad.
Wow. Congressman, it's great to get your insights on all of this. Please come back soon. Thank you very much for joining us this weekend.